Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vasel and Sam Healey.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia.
And I'm Sam Healey.
Today we're taking a look at a game that's got a tiny bit of buzz.
Just a bit.
And that is
Five
Tribes. I'm kind of surprised about this because at Gen Con, this was certainly one of the hot games that people talked about. But the post-Gen Con, it's come to be one of the two hottest games from the convention, the other being Dead of Winter.
I agree.
I think.
I agree.
Five Tribes has really gotten a lot of buzz, which is amazing because it's a Days of Wonder game, and they're known for their light, medium games. And this one is closer to a medium to heavy Euro game.
Yeah, it's definitely top medium heavy, yeah.
Yeah. Lots of points, lots of that sort of thing. Medium Euro.
Also, they're also known for having a very strong theme in their games, and this may be the least thematic of their game. I'm not saying it's not thematic, but I'm saying comparatively, it's not like Shadows of Camelot or Ticket to Ride with trains.
Okay.
This is, the mechanisms don't make a lot of sense thematically.
Okay. Correct.
And what's the game that if you were going to say the game, is it Mancala?
Yes,
Yes, right.
Mancala. So yeah, Mancala on steroids. Let me show you. So here's the game, which looks like a splash of colors all over the place. It's made up of different tiles that are randomly placed in this formation. And then you're going to pull these little wooden meeples from a bag and randomly place them all over the board so that there's 3 in each spot. So we're going to start with scoring first. The game comes with a score sheet here, and you can see the different scores that people get. First of all, money. You're going to start with money over the course of the game, and as you get more money, money is essentially victory points. You're also going to get victory points for these little yellow guys, Viziers, that you get at the end of the game. Each one of them is worth a point, and whoever has the most gets 10 victory points. You also get points for the little white guys at the end of the game. And each of these guys here, who are elders, are worth 2 points at the end of the game. And you're also going to get points for different genies that you get. So for example, if you get this genie here, you'll see that he's worth 5 victory points. Other genies might give you bonus victory points for various things. Then you're going to get victory points for each spot on the board where you have a camel of your color. That means you own that spot. So you can see this spot here is worth 5 victory points, 8, 12, 6, various victory points. Then you're going to get victory points for each spot where you have a palm tree or a palace. Those are 3 points or 5 points. Have an oasis or palace. These will be placed on the board over the course of the game in different spots, and they'll give you points. And then finally, you have different trade goods over here, and over the course of the game, you can trade those trade goods in for money whenever you might need it, but you can also get points, and the more different ones you have, the more points you get. That's it. Now, on your turn, or at the beginning of each turn, players are going to use their markers here in turn order to place bids. Now, so let's say I pay $3 and that's my bid for turn order. The next person, pink, decides not to bid anything and puts theirs on 0. Blue also decides to bid nothing, so they push the pink one back. There's 3 spots for zeros there. And then orange decides to pay 5 so that they can go first. So once you take a spot, no one else can go in that spot except zeros where you can get pushed back. So then orange will go first, black will go second, blue will go third, pink will go fourth. Now on your turn, you go look at the board and you pick up any group of these 3 meeples and you're going to move them. Each time you move one of them, you're going to drop one in an adjacent space as you move them. You can't go to the same space twice. The final space that you go to, you will then, it has to have a color that matches the last color you drop in. You then take both of those out, or all of them out, and then you will do something based on that color. So for example, if I took this one here, I could drop a white one here, a red one here, and a red one here, and then I would get to take all 4 of those red ones out. So as the game progresses, you'll see that different pieces will be dropped in different spaces. And here I would take out the 2 green. Here I could move this, the red one here, take out the 2 white. Here I could move this one here, white, green, take out the 2 green. Here there's just 1 white, so I could move it here and take out the 2 white. All right, so there's basically, you have all different things you can do. Now, when you clear a tile, it's a tile you go to. Like, remember I went here and took out all those reds? When you do that, that becomes your tile. You're going to put one of your markers on it. Also, whatever tile that you go to, the tile that you finish on is going to have an action. Some of these actions are required, like this one here. You put no oasis on that tile. Some of them have a palace, where you'll put a palace on those tiles. Those are required. You have to do that. Others, like this one here, which shows a 3/1/3, means you can pay 3 and take one of the first 3 cards over here in the trading area. The alternative to that one is this one, which is pay 6 to take 2 of the first 6 cards in that area. You can also, when you go to one of these spots, you can get one of these genies. You have to turn in 2 elders or an elder and a slave, and sometimes other things might happen. And you can take one of the face-up genie cards over here, which give all sorts of special abilities, and also ways to get victory points at the end of the game. Now, depending on what color you take at the end of your turn, the group that you take off the board and you put them back in the bag, usually, it depends on what happens. Yellow, easy to stick in front of you. Remember, at the end of the game, they're worth points, and whoever has the most gets 10 points. White is the same thing. These are worth 2 points each, but you're also going to be using them to hire the different genies as time goes by, so they can be very useful in that regard. Blues, when you take them, you're going to take the number of blues you take. So let's say I landed here with a blue and took 3 blues off, and multiply that by the number of blue spaces adjacent to that tile. So here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. See the blue there? So, and I also have a little blue meeple there to remind you. So I take 3 times 4, and I would get 12 coins from the bank, 12 points. Reds are assassins. When I take assassins, they can kill one guy up to the number of spaces away equal to the assassins you have, plus a slave card can be used to add to that range. So when I was here, I got 4 assassins, so I could have went all the way over here and popped that dude. If you pop a guy, kill a guy, and he's the last guy in the space, you will also take control of that space. And then the green gentlemen are traders. The number of those you have are the number of cards that you will get from the front of the line. Now, the different cards that are over here on this side are going to be different goods, and at the end of your turn you can trade those in, and you can trade in 1 good for 1 coin, but if you have all 9 goods, you can trade those in for 60 coins. You can see how that really ramps up. So there's also slave cards that you can take. Those cards are used to help get the genies and or help your assassins kill people that are farther away. And that's pretty much how the game works. As the game goes on, there's going to be fewer and fewer guys on the board, and when nobody can make a legal move, that's the final round. You'll then add up everybody's score, and whoever has the most score, the highest score, is the winner. Okay, well, this is Zee's copy of the game, so
right.
I know he likes it.
I do quite a bit.
Even though yours is signed by Bruno Cathala.
Somebody scribbled on the cover here.
Graffiti. All right. So let's talk about that whole Mancala thing. That's the main focus of this game.
Right.
But it goes in all different directions. It's not like a typical... What are your thoughts?
Honestly, that helped me want to learn how to play the game a little bit better.
What do you mean? Because you knew Mancala?
Because I know Mancala. I know, the idea of taking pieces from one spot and then spreading them out and then having to end in another spot.
Right.
And if you end in this proper spot, you get to do something else.
Right.
Which is what Mancala is all about. So
I think Tom was right when he said that thematically is weak. It doesn't make thematic sense as it ties to this game.
Right.
But the amount of strategy it gives you back for that break in reality, for lack of a better term, is completely worth it in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's okay to have a mechanic in there that is not thematic.
Right.
If what you get back in return is a wealth of strategy and tactics.
Okay, I wasn't complaining. I'm just saying it wasn't typical for them to do this.
That's true.
As a company.
Another game that's done that recently is Rise of Augustus. It's a very...
It takes bingo.
Right. And wraps it up in a really presentable package and a fun package.
Well, to not deviate too far, but another game that used Mancala was Trajan. And he used it almost exactly as Mancala. I mean, it was in a circle, you took the pieces, dropped them off, and it makes even less sense there thematically. And I really like that this game took Mancala and did not just re-employ it, but it messed with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you came back to 5 tribes.
Yes,
I did.
Okay, we're back on 5 tribes.
Yes.
Now, one of the interesting things about 5 tribes is it almost feels in some ways like it's designed by Stefan Feld in parts, because it uses what is either negatively or positively, depends how you feel about it, what I call point salad.
Okay. Yeah,
which
I can agree with that.
every way, anything you do gets you points. You're either getting cards, make sets of cards for points, or you're getting the yellow dudes, I forget what they're, viziers, they get you points, or elders get you points. Genie cards give you bonus points. Getting stuff on the board gets you points. There's lots of different ways.
Okay, right.
You can get points with every move, it's just that you're trying to get the most points. And it's a little bit better than, in Stefan Feld's games, you never have like big moves. They're usually like get 6 points, 5 points, 3 points, and we add them all up at the end. It's like, I got more better moves than you did.
Okay.
While in this game, you can make some pretty big moves and get a bundle of points if you're not careful. Or I guess if you are careful.
Right,
Yeah.
or if you're not careful, you can set your opponent up and give them the option to kill you.
This is, that's where my brain kind of starts to lock up and seize a little bit, because I know that danger is there.
Yes.
If I make a sub optimum move on my turn, that could make it very easy for another person to make a above optimum move. You know,
I got you, right.
And you can really set yourself aside as far as points are concerned. But at the same time, if you do pay attention, I think you can do the little bit of points here, a little bit of points here, a little bit of points here, and make up for that one person that's getting the huge turn here and a bunch of smaller turns.
I think if that's a massive issue that bogs you down, I think bidding low in turn order sort of solves that for you.
Yeah, it does.
And it saves you money.
Yeah.
Saves you points, basically.
It does.
Yeah. I agree with you that it feels like again, this term is used in a negative sense typically, but it does feel like a point salad, but it feels like a point salad that everything has just a little bit of flavor to differentiate it. It's not, I built a vase, $6, I built a hammer for Y, because 6 and 4 balanced out in our hundreds of playtests. This gives me theme on top of that. You know, the characters that each piece is tied to make sense. The genies add flavor to this game. You know, employing a genie that then you can grant you wishes, right? I mean, I think that makes the game transcend that trapping of a point salad.
Okay.
Another thing this game has is what I like to call perceived chaos. When you look at it, you're like, wow, this is chaotic. Moving stuff here and there. But in reality, the game has almost no luck other than the cards that come out and the initial placement of the meeples on the board. So because of that, I may be moving here and it looks very chaotic. Oh, now you messed that piece up and over there. But the fact is that you could plan all that out.
Well, I think
there's a big, I think a computer would beat you in this game.
Okay, maybe there is enough randomness that I think.
I just don't. I don't think that the luck is in the game. I think there's a lot of luck in this game, but the luck comes from other players not seeing their optimum move.
Well, I don't know if okay, that is luck.
I mean, you
that's
can
what I'm
get
saying.
lucky because the person ahead of you doesn't see the best move, the huge move that you see. And I remember the first game we played, I sat there on my last turn because everybody at the table saw the move that I should make to get a good number of points and stay in the game, and I couldn't see it. But then I finally did see it, and it was different than everybody else, but I got the same number of points.
Right. You actually saw something that people were not seeing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the luck falls into it. Your luck is based on other people not seeing the good moves.
I don't know if I'd call that luck, but I get what you're saying.
All right, and that brings me into a point that I want to make about this game is I feel like 5 Tribes is one of the most susceptible to analysis paralysis games that there is. Because there are so many possibilities of moves, especially at the beginning of the game, there's just moves everywhere, okay? You just make piles of moves, whatever. And at the end of the game, there's fewer moves. But that mid to late game, there's a lot of moves, and some of those moves are clearly better than others. And you also, so when you make a move, you have to sit there and think, which move is best for me? And am I How much am I setting up my opponents? And it can literally freeze people for long periods of time.
Okay. See, I disagree. I think you're right that at the beginning there's a ton of moves, and they're all going to get you about 10, 11 points. And at the end, the moves do become more critical, but there's fewer, so it self-balances that way, in my opinion.
I'm saying the middle, though, where there's fewer moves and some are clearly better than others.
It's a sliding scale. I think at the end, you're going to have fewer moves that become... The closer you get to the end of the game, you have fewer moves, and the closer you get to the end of the game, the more critical those moves become, which balances out. There's fewer things to do, so you can take more time analyzing your moves. I don't think turns get longer in this game, is what I'm saying. And I think that would be my counter argument to what you're saying. If your turn typically takes you 2 minutes, I think it'll still take you, on a typical game, about 2 minutes at the end. Because there's fewer. They're more important. You got to be more careful. But there's also fewer moves on the board.
I guess I would fall somewhere in the middle because I will say that my second game, I experienced less analysis paralysis than I did in my first game.
Okay, right, which is you learned the game a little bit. Right.
So I think that there is, your first few games, there's going to be a heavier amount of analysis, APness. Analysis paralysis, you're going to have to edit that out. Let me start over. Yeah. Gosh, I can't believe.
Okay, just go.
Oh, man. Anyway, I think as your experience with the game grows, the level of analysis paralysis that you experience will go down. So I think you're saying that it's not analysis paralysis heavy.
Right.
He's saying that it is.
Right.
I'm saying that it trails off the more you play it.
Well, that's a game. I mean, that's like saying that if you don't know the game, you're going to take longer on your turns.
No, I would disagree on that because there are some games where that stays with it the whole game. The better you get, the better your opponents get, the more you're all thinking. I don't know that anyone will ever get good enough for this to see all the moves. That's impossible.
That's great. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's fine, but I'm saying you could try, though.
Yeah, at some point you realize that there's diminishing returns.
Because the beginning's always going to be random. So you're not always going to be able to see all the moves all the time.
Right, of course.
You're not going to be able to do that. But being able to process the random information that you're presented with at the beginning of the game will get better.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that makes you quicker, everybody.
Yes, it does. And that's what I'm saying. The first few times you play it, you're going to think, man, there's so much AP in this.
Okay.
But as it continues, you're going to feel like it gets worse. But it's not really the game. It's your mind getting better at playing the game.
Okay, sure. I agree with that.
All right, so what are your final thoughts and thumbs?
This game, as it stands right now, I've not played every game that's come out this year, obviously, and there are games that are still to come. But so far this year, this is my favorite game by a pretty good margin. So I'm obviously going to give it 2 massive statuettes up and throw some genies on there just for a little flavor. And I am enamored with the game. I think it is a brilliant design.
Sam?
I am going to say that what you said earlier, 2 games that have been really at the forefront have been Dead of Winter and Five Tribes. I'm on the other side. Dead of Winter far exceeds this by a long shot. I think it's a better game. I think it has better theme. You name it. Dead of Winter is way better than Five Tribes. Now, I think Five Tribes is a good game, but when offered the 2, which one do you want to play? I'm always going to pick Dead of Winter.
Sure.
But if Dead of Winter isn't a possibility, and everybody wants to play Five Tribes, I'll be good with that. So coming from me, I'm going to say I'll give it a 1 strong Vizier up. I'll give it 1 strong Vizier up because I'll be willing to play it if that's what everybody wants to play. But I'm not going to ask for it.
Okay.
For me, beautiful production, of course. I like how everything looks. Although colored score pads always drive me crazy because I don't know if I should write on them or not. But Days of Wonder always does that. Mr. The Abbott, these beautiful things. You're like, am I allowed to cross this off? Okay, but that being said, looks really good. I don't mind the missing theme. I mentioned it, but that's not that big of a deal. I like the Mancala thing, but two big things I don't like. One, I mentioned already. I feel like the game has a big problem with the whole analysis paralysis. What do I do next? And that coupled with the fact that for me, other people's turns were boring. I would sit there, let's say you're going, and I don't care what you do. I care what you do when you're done. I don't care about, right, I care what you have done. I don't care what your decisions are. So as a 2-player, that's not a big deal because it's more interesting. What's he going to do?
Right.
And a 3 or 4-player, there's a level of board changing that happens between.
Only turn you have to pay attention to is the person right before yours.
Okay, a game with 4 people. I mean, that means you're
right, but
for 2 turns.
They all pick them up, boom, boom, boom. Pick something up, boom, boom, boom. The board has changed quite a bit.
Yeah, you have to be careful because your move, whatever move you bid, thinking you would make, might change. I think that's interesting.
Oh, and that brings it. I'm just tired. I don't like bidding for turn order that much. It's just a mechanism I don't like.
Okay.
Because I always feel like I'm going to totally screw up and bid too much to go first, and it's not worth that much. Yeah. And then you've lost points that way. Or you say, okay, I don't want to spend any money this turn, and you're like, oh, now I go last, and I lost out. And that's a very stressful thing I'm not a big fan of.
I don't play a lot of games that have bidding for turn order, I guess. So it doesn't bother me that that's in there. Right. But I can understand what you're saying as far as how stressful it is because, well, what if you're bidding to go first because you see that one move and it just doesn't quite turn out to wash. The amount of points you had to spend, I guess that's maybe the rub for me.
Okay.
I have to use my points to bid for turn order, and I might get bit in the butt for it later.
Sure, and I think that, again, and my opinion is that it adds to turn angst, which I typically enjoy.
Okay.
In a game that's not too heavy, which this is middle of the road.
Yeah. I'm giving this the desert horizon of nothingness in a sense. I'm not thumbing it down. I don't dislike it, but I'm not thumbing it up either. I'm very neutral on it. You play it, I'll have a fun, entertaining time.
Spine Vasel!
Well, no, because I would be wrong. I didn't dislike it. I wouldn't go out of my way to play it. It won't make my top 10 of the year even.
Okay.
But I think it's a solid thing, and I know the game will be liked by quite a few people. I can see that. For me, though, I like to be involved in the whole game, and I felt like I was really only involved in my own turn.
Cool. Okay.
So, anyway.
You got 3 very different opinions.
Yeah.
Well, we need one guy who comes in here and goes, I hate it! I'm sure someone out there could do that in the comments below. Anyway, thanks for watching Miami Dice. I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia. Have a good one.
And I'm Sam Healey. See you on the flip side.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.